Hello, guys, and welcome to our Saturday show. So, tonight there is myself and my lovely host Samuel for our company shows. So, tonight we are going to be discussing a very interesting topic. Well, Samuel's going to be. So, if there's any questions or anything that you're wanting to ask after, guys, please feel free. So, Samuel's going to be covering werewolves and all of the information and details about how they came to light and how they are supposed to exist. So, we hope that you enjoyed this stream. Please leave lots of comments, share out, and please feel free to donate if you want or do a super chat, whatever you feel, guys. And I'm going to put this show over to Samuel. So, Samuel, over to you.
My pleasure, Sherry. I really appreciate that. Well, I will start off by saying most of this started out with my knowledge that I already had, but I had to back it up with facts and this and that. So I hope you like this one. It's kind of a soft spot for me. The meaning of a werewolf is written in many different dictionaries. A meaning of a werewolf consists of, in folklore, a human being that is able to make and sustain the form of a wolf that has human intelligence. Another definition of a werewolf is that of an imaginary creature that is a person who changes into the form of a wolf during the day, during the night of a full moon. Another definition of a werewolf is a person that changes form into a werewolf at will. The moon has a certain amount of gravity that affects most bodies of water on the planet. The positioning of the moon can also affect the body's water in odd ways. The human body has a lot of water. It is documented that the human body consists of 60% water or even 80% water. With that being said, it should be possible that the moon can affect the human body and how it is possible for the moon to affect the human brain, which is 80% water. There have been a lot of movies and entertainment in the entertainment business about werewolves. In cinema, it all started in 1913 with a silent film called The Werewolf. The movie was lost in history in 1924 when there was a fire at Universal. It was destroyed. Those cans that had the last known makes of, which had the last known makes of the film. Werewolf movies have been praised and booed over the decades. Making a werewolf film can be very consuming as compared to other genres such as zombie flicks or even vampire flicks. The reason this is because it is not hard. It's not as hard to make a person look like the stereotypical look of one of them. You will need a lot of makeup because you want the look of them, such as pale and a bit of a monster makeup that makes the person look and injured. And sometimes contacts make the eyes look dead, such as a zombie flick. With that, oftentimes you can hire an actor to pull off the look and mindlessness and grunts and moans, which you do not have to pay a substantial amount of work for, and the makeup person. On the issue of vampires, it is easier way to make making costs. The actors back in the golden days of movies were advanced and amazing, but they did not need to have a huge amount of makeup and special effects for vampire flicks. They normally have costumes, but they were much easier to design and than to make a werewolf costume. Basically, with zombies and vampires, they were more cost effective in different ways. Werewolf costumes are a bit harder to make up, and added on to it, you had to find the right makeup. You had to have a certain amount of hair to grow with the costume. Werewolves are not known to be bald, but between the part of being human and transforming into a werewolf can be difficult. The golden age of movies, the transformation was the hardest. You had to have you had to have the camera at a certain angle, so then comes the transformation. One shot was taken at a time, so that the gradual process could be significantly longer. They would build the costume gradually, but stopping every few seconds. And then there was the simple stop motion animation. Stop motion animation, where one where where uh, a movie or story is done with the frame of the character is shot at a time and not at times it was not continuous. This was done where werewolves and could be considered not cost effective. So oftentimes actors would prepare for these roles through a series of processes called method acting. In a general sense, method acting is to where an actor does what they can to become the role of the person or creature that they are playing. They do this to psych themselves up to get more substantial and more of a realistic part of the performance. In 1941, a film called A Werewolf of London, another makeup job was done by a gentleman by the name of Jack Pierre. The makeup jobs of the film was considered extraordinary for that day and time. The storyline of it was that of a man that was a botanist named Wilford, who was Henry Hull. He was bitten in Tibet and started looking for a plant that was rumored to potentially suppress him from becoming a werewolf. An American Werewolf in London, which some of you've heard, takes place in the UK of two friends that were to see the sights and have a good time in England. One of the friends is turned into a werewolf, where he kills his friend unconsciously. The friend sort of haunts him to while he's in the spiritual body and is falling apart. The werewolf friend wanted to commit suicide several times, so he does not want to hurt anyone. At the end, the police had killed the main character. An American Werewolf in Paris was the loose version of an American Werewolf in London. It was a movie about some friends that went to Paris. It shows three friends that go there to do things like bungee jump off the Eiffel Tower and go into clubs that were mainly meant for tourists. A heroine that turns out to be a werewolf warns the three friends not to go, but they go anyway. One of them is killed. One of them is killed and one survives, and the other one is bitten by a werewolf. The story takes place in 1997 and has been thrilling, and that was considered thrilling and astonishing, especially for what goes on while in werewolf fiction. The case of people being able to change format at will is an idea that has a huge appeal and also something that scares a lot of people. Mostly European folklore has covered this idea. Some say that a person that has been cursed is what truly makes them a werewolf. Others say it is people to become that do not know they can be because it stays dormant within them. The wolf, I mean. Other people say that transformation only happens when the moon is in a certain phase, such as a full moon. In the time of when Europe was frozen over, people lived in caves. The thought process of many alchemists had started this type of lycanthropy. They had noticed wolves were amazing survivors. Wolves hunted in packs and even in solo. They noticed the thick fur that they had, which kept them warm, and the lifespan of wolves were remarkably long, considering how long they stayed out in such harsh weather conditions. They had teeth that were in excellent condition, and the wolves had an undying fighting spirit. Noticing that, people who would capture wolves and unfortunately dissect them while they were alive. They did this process because they wanted to put living parts of the wolves into living people to take on their characteristics, like I just mentioned. A lot of the time, it did not work because the human body rejected those body parts. No one truly knows the original legend where legend comes from the werewolf. People say it's the legend of Gilgamesh. It is said that had jilted a potential lover because she had turned her previous mate into a wolf. Some people have speculated that they come from ancient Greece, where Zeus had turned someone by the name of Lycan because he served the remnants of a young boy into a meal to Zeus, which infuriated Zeus. Even in Nordic times, there were legends of a father-son duo that had put on pelts of wolves and went on a killing spree that lasted for 10 days. But when the day was getting close at day and time, the father had come close to killing his son with a fatal strike. The reason that the son did not die was because the kind-hearted raven gave the father a healing leave and saved his son's life. Every so often, the body did not reject those foreign body parts. Certain things happened with those people. Some of them grew a lot of hair, making them more resistant to the cold. Some of the strength of the bodies would increase. Some of the strength of the bodies would increase, including their speed. Strangely enough, a lot of people grew tails that were extremely small. In theory, the spine grew larger and the bones had toughened up. The problem with this was that they could get into a mindset of needing to feed, and sometimes they would turn on their own people, including their sort of surgeons. Along with turning it on the surgeons that implanted these wolf parts, they also turn on their families and friends. They developed a spirit that was savage, which was a savage nature, along with the stronger abilities that they had. They also had the reasoning skills of humans. Those people, after what, those people after a while sought out others of their own kind and began to mate. After a while, many of them were able to gain control of it. Unfortunately, many were not, and were not able to control the sensations of what a wolf had to go through. And urges to feed on animals that they could not control spread it of the share of their condition to regular humans. I guess you can say that a werewolf is a sort of shapeshifter. Other times it's happened while the moon was full. In theory, it was the product of ancient genetic engineering. Some have debated is the curse of someone that could have been the product of a curse. In the past and present is referred to as lycanthropy. Some even debate that it is a controllable ability. Whatever the case is, it started in Europe. The legends, I mean. No one truly knows how it started. Most of the people throughout history do not really care, to be honest. They saw and see it as a true threat throughout history, and many have done what they could and do what they can to stop that threat. A case in Germany was that of a man named Peter Stube. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Some of the manuscript was found by an occultist by the name of Montague Sumerson in 1920. No one truly knows his exact birth date, nor the place that he was born at. The pamphlets were almost completely gone. One found in Lambeth, the library, and one in the British Museum. Stubble had some of his life documented, and so his trial was documented too. Some of the neighbors had statements that went against him, and not everything known about his actions had been known. He had confessed to performing black magic, and after being tortured on the rack, he had confused too many cruelty acts towards animals, and he also confessed to certain forms of cannibalism. He was also confused to having intercourse with certain family members, and also with a demon called a succubus. He was found guilty on October 28th, 1589. No one truly knows what happened, if he had committed the crimes or of what he was confused of. No one truly knows if he was a werewolf or not, but whatever the case is, he confessed to it through torture. Many people, especially military people, often that torture is completely unreliable, because most people will do what it takes to get it to stop by confessing the actions of someone may or may not have done. So the confessions he made were completely unreliable, and there should be no trust given on those confessions. A man named Jacques Roulette was convicted of being a werewolf in Angers, France. In 1598, an archer and a group of peasants came across a young male that was naked and mutilated. People that said the body was that of a fresh kill. People had claimed that they had seen two wolves that had been startled. The crowd gave chase to the wolves. When the crowd got close to what they saw that were wolves, and came seemingly rather large man that claimed that the man had extremely bloody hands. With what appeared to be human flesh underneath his nails. When they all got close enough, they dragged him to the town magistrate. Man Jacques Roulette was a homeless man who went from town to town begging for money and food at times. After he spent time with the magistrate, he had confessed to doing black magic with his parents. He had confessed to having an appetite for human flesh. It was also known that he had loved to eat children. It was no surprise that he was sentenced to death, and the charges he confessed to were being of a werewolf, cannibalism, and murder. His parents were questioned and were evaluated as being good, decent people, and were later released. He had appealed the charge, which was surprising. He had appealed the charges and was resentenced to being in a mental asylum, which no one was able to foresee, for only 2 years. Torture was a commonplace in those days when it came to certain subjects that were associated with the occult in many different ways. Now we go to Vera Poget and Mikhail Verdun, I think that's the name. In 1521, they were called the Werewolves of Polygamy. They're accused of this in France. Someone was traveling when that person was attacked by a wolf. The traveler injured the wolf, and Verdun tracked him down and tracked it down to Verdun's home, where Verdun was supposedly drenched in blood. Verdun was arrested and confessed while being tortured. Verdun implicated himself and 2 other men by the name of Pierre Poget and Philibert Monet Bogart. Implicated 3 years The men implicated three mysterious men and said that him and the two other men were tricked to renouncing their baptism and denouncing God. Were done supposed to given an ointment, and it turned them into werewolves. Later on, the three were executed, but Monet had never confessed to anything. In closing this fascination with werewolves, there has never been strayed upon anything. Money can keep a legend going, such as books, movies, and sometimes news stories. When it comes to movies, not every movie studio wants werewolves because the intricate suit that can make up can be expensive, especially along the lines of costs. Another notion with the what may cause a supposed transformation to a werewolf is that if the moon is being full. It's been proven time and time again that water is affected by the moon, whether it is in a pond, a lake, a river, or even the oceans. In that case, why is it that a person's body cannot be affected by the moon if a body is actually considered 80% water? Documented cases have come up time and time again during medieval times and even the Renaissance times. People with authority are no exception to those potentially happening according to legend. With all that being said, there is this romance of the discussion not about it is real or not real. It's about possibility. So let me ask all this of people. One thing people in the paranormal field, cryptozoology, and many different other things, the body is made up of, like I said, a lot of water, and with all that, the brain is made up with a lot of water too. So the thing is, it can affect the human psyche, whether you believe it or not, rather easily. Every single year, at least in the U.S., traffic accidents, assaults, murders, everything goes up the night of a full moon. Every single year, in almost every single major city within the U.S. I don't know how it goes for other places throughout the world, but it does happen. Now, with that mindset, if we've ever heard of the term road rage and this and that, and oftentimes being during a full moon, how is it that that sort of thing is not possible? That somebody may take on those characteristics. And like I said, whenever it comes to alchemy, and with what the horrors that we did to wolves and implanting them, sometimes the body would accept those body parts and everything. And whether people want to admit it or not, there have been there was the Ice Age, which was, well, like I said, was the inspiration as to why people would do this. The reason why I'm saying all of this is because the possibility is still there. That, I cannot put this, the possibility is still there on the issue of lycanthropy. And the issue of lycanthropy affects the psyche, affects this, affects that. People do crazy, weird stuff whenever certain things happen and don't happen. So at the end of the day, like I was saying, there is the possibility, and in many ways, sometimes we have to recognize, is the impossible possible? And that's what I honestly think. So anybody have any questions for right now? Do you see anything for me, Sherry?
I'm just looking up at the chats.
Okay.
Right, stone across. Hello, Phonics. Smith family, hello. ODSD, hello, brother. UFO man, hello. Any questions, guys? I can't see anything at the minute. Just looking. Can't see anything at the moment. There might be something at the bottom there.
Well,
70% of water. When a person gets dehydrated, mental things can happen. I agree, Midnight.
yes, they can. They can, and it does happen all the time. Whether we want to believe it or not, say like you get dehydrated or not, even if we do have a certain amount of water, we can go into shock. We can even go into death. It doesn't matter what time of year when you're dehydrated and dehydrated to extremes. It affects everything in a negative way. Whether it's the organs in the body, whether it's your brain or anything, it has bad and circumstantial effects. So, like I said, that what some of the stuff that I've been taught on the, I didn't get taught a lot, but I get taught some. But with all that, I see the possibility of where people's ancestry can come from wolves. So whenever that's triggered, whenever something like that is triggered, then there is that possibility.
We're a bit confused because we're talking about werewolves and stuff, but Samuel?
Well, I guess, I guess the thing is, whenever it comes to spirits and ghosts and everything, Midnight, is that they are real. They are definitely real. Whenever a human body dies, certain things come out of it. Those things that come out of it, such as water and this and that, it comes out in any sort of way. Now, in my theory, there's no way I can absolutely prove it, but the electricity that's in the human body, not necessarily the human body, but the brain, is tremendous. And with that electricity, in my opinion, or that sort of energy form, it goes somewhere. And there's tons of it, and it's been addressed many, many different times. And one great movie that I love is The Matrix, and they talked about what's in the brain. Like I said, what's in the brain of how much electricity is in it. In other words, what I'm getting at is, to me, that is the ghost, that is the spirit. It's the remnants. A lot of that spiritual energy that comes out leads to ghosts and spirits. Like, I always forget the two of ghost and spirit. One is that of the action that had taken place, and the other one is the actual soul and everything. So
they say that a lot of people represent that spirit is the ones that have got the souls, and ghosts are the ones that are the first part that you were saying. Ghosts are ones that will replay life events and stuff like that.
And precisely right. And like I said, that energy goes out somewhere. And if you had a traumatic act happen to you and you take it to the grave, it doesn't always stay in the grave. It doesn't always stay in the grave, and it goes somewhere. And people talk about dissipation and this and that, but it doesn't mean that it's still not there. I mean, take a look at an atom. Human beings are not capable of seeing an atom, but we know it's there. The atoms lead to molecules. Well, it's pretty obvious what is going on. But like I said, the energy is still there, whether you see it or not.
Yeah, and I believe that. I believe that when you die and stuff, that all of our energy that is within us goes to somewhere else, whether that is to heaven or they stay here or whatever it is. And obviously then you've got the energies that are not known as being human, but there's still an energy, there's still a form that's only works because of the existence of the planet, the good and the bad. Like, it exists because of energies and frequencies and those sort of things. So yeah, very much they do exist. Along where werewolves is questioned, isn't it? Really, are they real or are they not real? There's wolves, there's people. some people believe that you can turn into a werewolf. There is a known illness that is meant to give you the aware of being a werewolf as well. I think it's called werewolfism or something like that. There's this name that is called, where humans are supposed to target themselves as being a werewolf because they have like hair where they shouldn't have, and they react to
Hmm.
certain frequencies of the moon.
And
Behaviors
also,
change.
well, also they get heightened senses. People that
Yeah,
can hear from extraordinary ways away. Like if anybody's ever lived in an apartment, and so like you have loud neighbors that are stepping around all the time upstairs. It's very hard to get some sleep while you've got that but yet people may come into that person's apartment and not hear a thing. And then there's other people who do hear it, and then there's other people who don't. Then you got the sense of smell. Some people can smell something from 15 yards away and everything, and they may be able to smell it, while a lot of people don't. Then you've got amplified sight. My sight is deteriorating all the time, but there are some people who they consider 20/20 the most ideal form of vision. But the thing is, some people can see what they call 20/15, which is even better perception of what they're seeing altogether. So, part in theory, people that they call lycanthropy, their senses are heightened and everything. And if you ever notice a certain, like athletes who just, even those athletes who don't compete in sports, but they are fast as anything, and it's hard, and it's almost impossible to catch up with them. That, in theory, like I said, they're more evolved in the physical sort of sense. Um, People that have excelled in strength, and they may be little as a twig, but but they can be stronger. And keep in mind, I'm 5'11". I'm 219 pounds, and I've seen people much smaller than me knock out people like me or even bigger than me, and they do it with ease. And so, one of the things is that in theory, alchemy what has led up to that. In other words, you could say evolution, but with animal parts, if you want to call it that. I mean, take like those people who have lived a long life, and they never had a single broken bone, and they've been in some manual labor and this and that, but somehow their strength and their endurance and their pain tolerance is higher than most other people. That's a possibility of lycanthropy, or maybe even other things that have gone on to make them more evolved,
I can see.
especially in the way of evolution. And so that's the possibility, and one of the reasons why I believe in lycanthropy is because of extraordinary people that have extraordinary physical abilities in various different ways. So, like I said, that's a theory I have, but there's no real way to prove it.
Well, it is said that like the werewolf does originate from a European
Hmm.
folklore, which is meaning a wolf, and half wolf and half human. Okay, and they're meant to feed on animals and corpses and people, and they can return back to their human form by daytime.
Hmm.
Okay, so to a lot of people, a werewolf is a mythological creature. It's not real. But how can you say that this such creature could not possibly be real when there is such thing as human and there is such thing as wolf? Now, if you can entwine other energies and species together, then why would you not be able to make somebody that is half animal and half wolf? If there's meant to be a mermaid or and things like that, which is half fish and half human, why could there not be a werewolf? And as I
Yes.
said, there is a well-known illness that's meant to describe about werewolves and stuff.
Well, this.
And then
Mhm.
because like
Well,
obviously I've got like more information on details about werewolves, like they're like different things about them, like that you would want to know. So information on where they came from, what they do, how a human could become a werewolf, can humans become a werewolf, all these sort of things. So I've got some like information on that. Now, obviously, I don't know if Samuel's still got stuff to do. If he's still got stuff to read out, then I'll wait. But
I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it from you, Sherry. I mean, the thing
so
is,
obviously the first one that
yeah,
I've spoke to you about is obviously that, where does the werewolf originate from? It's a European folklore. Okay, so then there is people that ask, how does a person become a werewolf? To become a werewolf, it is necessary that you have to be bitten by the werewolf first while it's in its wolf form. And it's normally on the full moon that this will happen. What happens is the saliva will mingle with the victim's blood, which will contaminate the blood, and that is when the occurrence of the wolf syndrome goes over the human body, which is where then a human can then become a werewolf. It is said that they normally would turn and switch into werewolf at all times, but they will be at different levels and different frequencies for that time of year. But at their most strongest is when it is the full moon. And that is when you will see the most beastly side of a werewolf also come out. Just going through my notes. Sorry, guys. Then there was, where can werewolves be found? Well, werewolves can be found in the east, in the eastern, and is found to be a folklore central of Eastern Europe, including Hungary, Romania, and the Balkans. While the Western werewolf sorcerers is found in France, Germany, speaking Europe, and the Baltic. What are werewolves known for? So, what are werewolves known for? Werewolves are shape-shifting creatures that are unusual, have unusual speeds and strength, and reflexes and senses. This can be found in countless books, films, and television shows about their speed, their abilities, and how they're able to move. There are classic films, as what Samuel said, but there is also The Wolf Man. There is such films as the Twilight and the Underworld series and stuff that do about werewolves and also vampires. Another question that has been frequently asked is, how do can werewolves be killed? Inviolably, werewolves cannot be killed by controversial means or weapons. Certain supernatural weapons, as well as silver, however, can kill them. Werewolves can also be killed by deception, as well as certain supernatural beings. So, in some ways, vampires are known to kill werewolves, and werewolves are known to try and kill vampires. Now, they're both very powerful supernatural beings, but a werewolf, even though can live a lot longer than what we would live as a human, it is not looked at as a immortal. It's looked at as somebody that can still pass away and die, but it just takes many more years than what a human body would be able to do. Where with a vampire, it's the opposite. A vampire is immortal, and the only way that you can really kill them is by putting a stake in their heart and burning them and making sure that their soul does not come back. So that sort of supernatural creature, other supernatural creatures may be similar in form to them. So maybe like certain other mythological sort of structured werewolves. There's all sorts of different characters in werewolves. There isn't just one type. And I do believe that some of them may be against each other as well. Can a human be a werewolf? Because this is us, because obviously we see things in a film which is meant to be fictional and this is not meant to be real. So the true fact is can a human become a werewolf? It's not possible for a human to become a wolf. Werewolves do not exist in reality. However, there is actual medical conditions called lycanthropy, where people believe they have turned into or are regularly transformed into other animals, notably by wolves. They are supposed to turn into them. How can you tell the difference between a werewolf? There are 9 signs apparently that you can tell with a werewolf. There's the monobrow, which is where your eyebrow just all goes in one, hairy palms, mismatched fingers, glowing eyes, aberrations to the arms and to the legs, so wounds and lashes, unquenchable thirst, dry tongue and dry eyes, frequently visiting graveyards at night, and craving for raw meat. These are supposed to be signs of a human that may be a werewolf. What does a werewolf look like in a human form? Well, in a human form, a werewolf just looks like the human being form that it would take. In werewolf, you would be able to tell the difference between it being human and it being a werewolf. When it's in werewolf form, it'll look like a wolf. It's just a lot bigger formed. It can walk on both legs, not on 4. Where when it becomes in its human form, it doesn't look werewolf anymore. It will just look like a human, but they will not usually appear to be around a lot at nights, and especially on the full moons. And that's when you might see the change in their character and their behavior, because in their human form, even though they're not the werewolf at that time, they are still affected by the rhythms and the ways of the moon, because that is how it's supposed to bring them out in their worst. Then some people say, like, do werewolves still exist? Do they exist? Well, you might not see many cases on werewolf syndrome. Some people do still today get it. There was one mother that actually lived in the Mikhail. There was her and her 3 children, and they were actually being cured for that such disease. Are werewolves stronger than vampires? Originally, a vampire is much stronger than a werewolf because it's immortal. Okay. Mainly as they were created for the sole purpose of defending themselves from werewolves. But a werewolf can be stronger when it's in its form and depending on the way that it goes for that vampire. It is not impossible for a werewolf to kill a vampire if it gets it the right way. What was the first werewolf? So according to the earliest known werewolf legend, it comes from the Greek mythology according to the legend of the name Lincoln. It's alleged that Zeus, the lord of the gods, was served a meal of a human's flesh, and in the punishment and anger, Zeus turned Lycan into a wolf. This is where the alleged fantasy was meant to come from, and where werewolves were meant to have started. It is also known that a werewolf syndrome, or being a werewolf, is classed as being a curse. Okay, it's not something good because you can't control your thirst, you can't control your emotions and the way that you act. When you become a werewolf, when those rhythms, those ways are affecting you and opening you in that way, there is no way of stopping that. You have to go through with what you're feeling and the emotions that you're being given over. Can werewolves turn into vampires? There is such thing as a werewolf hybrid, which is half vampire and half werewolf. They are incredibly dangerous and very, very powerful. They can also be known as Eve ladies, another hybrid that is also transformed from werewolves into hybrids, while terminal can turn humans into hybrids. So yes, werewolves can become entwined with the vampire venom, and they can take the form of a hybrid. What powers do the werewolves have? Okay, so with werewolves, their most known abilities is obviously their super sense, their sights, their smells, and their hearing. But they are also absolutely amazing at getting to places. They're really quick, they're very speedy, they have got very good healing abilities, and they can share thoughts with other wolves. Can werewolves turn at will? Werewolves cannot control their changes. They might be able to direct who they kill, but they cannot start and stop their transformation at will. That's why it's called a curse. Can werewolves be killed by fire? Enough normal damage can kill a werewolf, but it takes a lot of damage and has to be faster than they can regenerate. Wolfbane can definitely kill them. Fire, if they are unfortunate enough to not be able to put it out, causes them to feel like they're drowning, and that can work and kill them. What age can you turn into a werewolf? Well, to turn into a werewolf, you have to normally be bit from a very young age, or you're born with that tendency. And you normally will not come into puberty and turning into a werewolf from until the ages of 11 to 14 years old, because that's when puberty is meant to start in the body of youngsters. So that is when it is said that they will start to have changes happen to them. They will reach that point in their body where it starts to change rapidly. The urges to transform starts to show more, and it also becomes uncontrollable. They will also have such symptoms as like flu-like. They will go through cold sweats. They will go through pain in their joints. They will just feel very like flu-like symptoms, but just on a higher level, and very painful. It's meant to be very painful for them to transform into werewolves as well, because if you've got to think about it, is as they're turning into a werewolf, they become a lot larger, so your bones have to break and come together. Obviously, your whole change in your heart rate and in the way that your body actually performs will change as well. So this is going to be very painful for them. And it is said and it is noted that a lot of people that are supposedly meant to be werewolves and start out to be werewolves don't actually make it to be a werewolf because of the pain and the changes that have to happen to their body for that transaction. A lot of them actually lose their life as a human because they can't take the pain and the pressures of what that transaction does to them. But the ones that do survive do endure every time that they transform. It is painful, and it takes a lot on their body, and you will find that their mood swings and their changes will become a lot different. You might see something different in them. What is the werewolf symbol? Triskaline. The Triskaline, also known as the Triskel or the triple spiral, is a Celtic symbol used by the Hale family to signify their werewolf pack. The name comes from the Greek triskels, which means 3 legs. The symbol has a close association with the Quitra, another Celtic symbol used to represent trinities. Some ask, how do you activate a werewolf gene? The werewolf gene is werewolf gene is activated by taking a human life. The only way to activate a werewolf gene with a person who is possessed is for them to kill another human being, whether that is accidentally or on purpose. However, an untriggered werewolf can kill vampires without fear or activating the gene. Some ask that if you're a werewolf, how do you turn back into a human form from being a werewolf? So they say the only way to undo a transformation by waiting it out until you go back to your normal self, which is your human form. Your human form, of course. If you don't want to just sit around for a few minutes, you can just simply hit the wait button and just wait for an hour, and boom, you'll be back to normal. So it is all about waiting. You can't turn it on and off. Once that transaction is happening, you'll stay that way until it's over. So you have to bear that in mind to anybody that believes that they're a werewolf. So what is the side effects of turning into a werewolf? The transformation of a human being into a werewolf shares some similarities with that of the vampires and the zombies after infection. There is a period of high fevers, chills, and other flu-like symptoms, and the victim is likely to experience extreme thirst and itching as their metabolism and the heart rate increases. Are werewolves immortal? Werewolves display a number of general enhanced physical abilities, as with their rivals, the vampires. Werewolves are immortal. The original werewolf survived over 800 years in oh my god, captivity. Whilst in captivity, with no food or water, in what appeared to be the type of which they thought might be a type of hibernation, where it just goes into itself and regenerates its body. And it was meant to have survived for over 800 years. So it's not immortal because they will die in the end, but it is because it will live and outlive us. That is for sure. Is a werewolf a real animal? The werewolf is a mythological animal and the subject of many stories through the world and more than a few nightmares. Werewolves are, according to some legends, people who morph into vicious, powerful wolves. Others are mutant combinations of human and wolf. What happens if a werewolf bites a vampire? Callous biting will whenever a vampire is bitten by a werewolf or a hybrid, the venom will be transmitted into the vampire's bloodstream from the werewolf's mouth. A vampire's death by a werewolf's bite is very slow and painful, which is why many who have been bitten are ultimately mercy killed before they react to that point. So vampires cannot really survive a wolf's bite. It gives them a very painful death. So normally the werewolf would give mercy and kill them. It is really known that werewolves and vampires are supposed to be enemies, okay, but they are known to work together in very small situations. That means that they may need to come together, but in reality, they are meant to be enemies. Who is the god of werewolves? Well, it's said that the god of werewolves is Lycan. Lycan is a Greek mythology and Britannica. So that is supposed to be the god. What is a female werewolf called? In mythology and literature, a werewoman or a werewoman is a woman who has taken the form of an animal through the process of lycanthropy. So it's a werewoman or werewoman. Yeah, it's got it together. So you've either got it all as one or you've got it hyphenated. So that is what werewolf women are known as. They're werewomen. Can werewolves talk? Assuming the rest of the vocal apertures in human-shaped and compatible features, yes, they would be able to talk. Vocal resonation would be quite off, and the pitch would likely be higher rather than growl. Your average werewolf would tend to yip, but that may vary as it depends on the survival the survival of other factors. So I just got you a few little bits of information like that, guys. I just thought that maybe it would be really good to share a few bits of educational facts about what werewolves are, where they're meant to come from, the sort of thing they're meant to be able to do, what happens if certain things happen to do with werewolves, or if they're coming entwined with their rivals and enemies, which is the vampires. What can happen, because in a lot of films, and I know Samuel will agree with me, vampires and werewolves are enemies. So
Well, I mean, the thing is, back in the day, this is backing you up, but in a different way. Werewolves oftentimes, in theory, were captured by vampires and made it to where the werewolves were the protectors to some degree, sort of like a vicious dog protecting protecting its master. But like I said, in theory, after a while, the werewolves got kind of sick of it, and they got sick of it and did their own thing. That's where, to some degree, movies like Underworld would kick in and everything. And that was the mythology of it and everything. On the issue of lycanthropy, where lycanthropy sort of thing.
okay, thinking, darling. Thank you for popping in. Though, be safe with your driving. Don't be you having an accident looking at the
Well,
phone.
yeah, definitely. Be careful out there. But like I said, with Lycan was the starter. It did that offensive thing in the eyes of Zeus. In the eyes
Yeah,
of
he did.
Zeus, and he was not going to tolerate it. Um, there were several different other myths, and yes, and definitely in Eastern Europe where it had all originated and everything.
Yeah,
Like I said, back in the day, alchemists were some of the predecessors of, what do you call it, of Newton and genetic engineering. They were some of the starters in theory of it and everything. Like I said, depending on your geography, your point of view. But like I said, whenever Europe was frozen over, that's whenever they started dissecting live wolves and put them into human beings.
yeah.
Now, that's a theory. There's no real way you can ever prove it unless you have one heck of a time machine. But for the most part, yeah, they were considered to be the ultimate protectors of vampires, but they got sick of it and they did things on their own in their own sort of way. On
Mm-hmm.
and in certain way, and like I said, added to it certain compounds and even the element silver and this and that are supposedly to work against werewolves in that sort of way. I've got something called Fleasbane. They were talking about Wolfsbane. Wolfsbane is extremely strong and potent to just about anything and everything that has heightened senses. What I have is the little tough cousin of Wolfsbane. It's called Fleasbane, and I have a bag of it that I use for certain compounds and everything. So the thing is, anything that has heightened senses will probably not want anything to do with you if you have that sort of thing. And because the heightened senses, it smells horrible and this and that. Where you're coming from, Sherry, once again, you did a brilliant job. There's just nothing more than brilliance. Most of that, what I know, which I already knew and everything, but like I said, with the ocean, with the moon, it does affect the tides and this and that. So to me, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm not saying it is or isn't real. I'm saying that there is the potential of it happening, whether we want to admit it or not, because take a look at the rainforest. We're finding animals that have been extinct for centuries, and they're just popping up around the corner behind some farmer's house in the Amazon rainforest. We're finding out stuff all the time. So, like I said, I'm not saying yeah or nay. I'm just saying that there's a possibility.
But that's why I turned around and said, like, how can you fully say that they don't exist? Because, you know, there's meant to be all these other sort of creatures that are meant to exist, things such as mermaids and stuff. They're half fish and half human. So why can't there be a half dog and half man sort of thing? You know, I'm not being funny. Like, I'm not saying, like you, Samuel, I'm not saying there is or there isn't, but most of our body is made up of water, and we are affected by the elements of the moon and the way that the moon acts, just as water and everything else. And it is the science way and reactor that causes that. Okay, so like the uneven balance in your bloodstream and in your way of thinking and in your way of sensing can be something that can be manipulated by the moon. So why can it not manipulate your body to change that dramatically? If you've had something that's bit you or something that's done something to you in that way and it's affected your body and it's put a gene in there, why could you not?
And
I'm sure it can be possible, but it's not something we can go out there and fully prove unless we actually see it happening in front of our eyes and we see a man turning into a werewolf. But I think half of us would be running if that was going to be happening, because I wouldn't be standing around to wait.
No, I wouldn't be.
You know what I mean?
I wouldn't be running. I wouldn't be running. I would be sprinting up a tree. I'll be running up a tree.
I'd be gone, literally.
Or in my that's just how it goes.
I'm not being funny, but I don't think we'd even be safe up a tree, Samuel, because I think they can climb the trees, can't they?
Well, I'd be breaking some branches so that way it wouldn't climb on me.
Just smack them on the head as they're trying to come up.
Well, this is going to be disgusting. I will relieve myself in hopes that he would stay away. I mean, the smell, I'd make that smell horrible for him to stay away. And that's the thing. Jokingly.
Hopefully he would find that horrible, because that might just make him do the opposite and want you even more, Samuel.
True.
And then you're screwed.
That's a nice way. You're being polite about it. I mean, for God's sakes, crapping yourself whenever you see a werewolf coming your way. I think that's part realistic.
I don't think you're really going to have enough time to crap. You're just going to run, aren't you? Because when it starts running, you've got no chance of getting away if it starts running at you.
Well, that's why I just let it go out my legs. I don't care what would happen. I mean, it's like great cowardness of Sam 101. Crap yourself in hopes they'll stay away. But the thing
is, we do apologize, guys, but this is true though. Which way, what survival ways would you use to get away from a werewolf, guys? In the room, Samuel's saying crap down. Samuel's saying crap down your legs and hope that they don't like the smell.
But in a more realistic sort of way, I normally carry a potion wherever I go. A small potion wherever I go. What if anybody's? But the thing is that, like you were saying, there are certain compounds, there are certain elements and everything, and especially saying wolfsbane, there are other things things of heightened senses, and you were even looking on your own research on everything, and you did great on that.
I like to do that just in case you couldn't quite get enough, and we needed it to be just over an hour. That's why I done it.
Yes, as well. and that's the thing. I love what you do, but like I said, I have given out some amount of potions in my time, and like I said, I have fleasbane, and if anybody ever wants to. If anybody can sense energy through the internet, I can go get what I have to show them what I mean. If they can sense energy from fleasbane, like I said, it's little but tough cousin of wolfsbane. So if anybody wants to see it,
the name makes me feel like my head wants to explode off my shoulders.
I could go get it if you want. If you're saying yes.
if you want to.
Hell yeah. Give me a second.
Okay, so you've got the cousin of the Bane, which is what is supposedly meant to be something that you can use to kill a werewolf. This is the cousin. It's meant to make their senses go off play, and if you can give them enough, then it can actually kill them. They lose their way. They don't understand what they're doing and things. Sometimes it can just actually send them crazy as well, but it does kill them in the end.
Okay, here's Fleasbane. If you can sense it, let me know.
Yeah, for me, that just feels like my head wants to explode off of my head.
But you
It
but
feels
you
really
see,
powerful, really.
Mm-hmm. And you guys are sensing it, right? Anybody else? Okay, I'll put that down.
I know that I wouldn't want to go near it if I was a wolf.
Well, like I said, sense it. Something that smells. Somebody who has amazing senses, something that has over the top amazing senses, will get nauseated real quick with that. And also,
do you get a headache?
Some people will. If you've got like a vampire, vampires have incredibly heightened senses as compared to human beings. But the thing is, not as strong as the wolves, but it is pretty darn strong. But this right here, remember me telling you about my potions, right, Sherry?
Yeah.
What do you
That one
sense
just
with
makes you
this?
feel like it makes you feel like you confuses you.
And that right there is called a shadow potion. I use Wolfsbane every single time. Not Wolfsbane, but Fleasbane every single time. Now, imagine. Now, the reason why it's effective against is the same reason why it's effective against things such as Wolfsbane or vampires or this or that. Is because if something has ill intent towards you, the second potion I showed you, the first one was the Fleasbane itself. But the potion I showed you, entities and the living to some degree has ill intent towards you. They're not going. Most of them are not going to want to deal with your tail end at all. They don't want nothing to do with you. If you break that second one out and you have ill intent, you're going to be in some pain. You're going to be in some amount. Let me state that discomfort. Entities like spiritual entities can't stand it. They will not enter your place. And it's an offensive potion. Now, Fleasbane, it is offensive, especially more defensive than anything. But the best defense is a good offense. Now with the Fleasbane, it will detour things. Like if some of you can smell that, some of you were able to sense it, you would.
But I was saying it makes you feel confused. It makes you feel
Mm-hmm.
like it messes up your thoughts and your
Imagine
mind.
Now imagine if you had incredibly heightened senses and what it would do to you.
I have got in heightened senses, as you know, Samuel. That's why
Well, I
I'm
know.
feeling. Why I'm saying I'm feeling it.
Yeah, and that's the
It's
thing.
making my head feel like it's jumbled.
Yeah, and that's what it does. Say like with lichens or vampires.
I am not a werewolf
I
or a
never said
vampire,
that.
by the way.
I'm just saying.
The guys, I'm talking. I know the guys will be thinking weird things in the room now. Well, she's really pale, so she might be a vampire or something. It's the camera light.
What you have to remember, the Fleasbane, you have incredibly heightened senses. That's obvious,
Yes, I do.
sure, you do. But imagine something that surpasses you.
Yeah,
how
no,
that
like
would affect
werewolves and vampires.
Yeah,
Way over, yeah.
Yeah, imagine they would not even come near you if they smelled that. Yeah, that disoriented you a little bit here and there. But imagine what they go through.
Phonics is saying it made his heart hurt.
That's a big part of Wolfsbane.
It's weird that you say that because I've got weird heart palpitations, like where it started to speed up and then it goes back down. It's like as soon as he got that out and it was making my head feel all jumbled and that was really weird.
Yeah. And what do you think? Whenever I did that broadcast the other night, what do you think I carried with me?
The
The potion.
The cousin.
Yeah. And you see what you guys are living. Now imagine what it would do against an entity that has ill intent towards you.
Well, I don't really need to look too far because Aura's nose just went straight up when you got it out. You're
The
like, yeah,
living.
okay,
Yeah. So that's the power of compounds. It's the power of all of that. So whenever you have all that, it's more preventative. The fleasbane, pure and simple, it's defensive if you want to think of it that way, because it'll drive things away. And werewolves are notorious for wanting nothing to do with somebody who has that. They want nothing to do with it.
But then that's the way to keep yourself from getting eaten, and it's a most definitely the better way than the scenario that Samuel said if he was going up the tree. It'd be less messy and whatever, and it'd be a lot more effective, I think.
Yeah, it is more effective, and you can have a certain amount of dignity.
It made your head hurt for a second, ODSD. That's because you've got spiritual abilities. That's why.
Now, imagine somebody that's a spiritual warrior encountering that.
I think they'd be running in the opposite direction, to be honest.
Yeah, and like I said, that was one of my smaller shadow potions. The second one was one of my smaller ones. It's stuff I can do.
Where can I get some of that fleasbane?
Metaphysical shop. Metaphysical shops.
A metaphysical shop.
METAPHYSICAL. And there's a few in town here in DeLand, and they do have it. And they definitely have it. And oftentimes they'll buy it real quick. But like I said, it works. It's a nasty combination, but it does work. And so if you feel like you're in danger or something like that, if you know somebody who can do alchemy, ask them where they can get it at in their town. And there you go. But like I said, whenever it comes to that sort of thing, I can do defense and I can do offense, but fleasbane, it's kind of a must.
Oh yeah, it sounds like it is. So how many of you guys in the room actually believe in werewolves and vampires? Do you believe in them? Do you think they're real? Me, I'm 50-50. I've had some very interesting stuff to do with vampires. And I've had weird messages on my spirit boxes saying vampire, bite your neck, stuff like that. So I could more believe towards a vampire than I would a werewolf, but then not. I'm kind of 50-50 with both of them.
You're on the fence. It's completely understandable. But like I said, I do have certain things that you can on my Instagram account if you ever want to see it or something like that.
Yeah.
On what I have.
Time to go visit my store. It looks like it is electronics, definitely.
Well, like I said, I mean, if you can find herbal metaphysical shops, that will be your best bet. In the state of Maryland, there's a place called the Crystal Fox. They do have some stuff like that do help with retrieving that sort of stuff. But like I said, on my metaphysical page, my Instagram page, it's differently 9560, and it'll show you some of the stuff that I can affect and this and that. But like I said, on the issue of fleasbane, get it. And ground it up as much as you can into the finest powder you have. So, and the reason why I'm saying that is because if you have a martyr and pestle, you always make it with that. Now, the reason why, and like I said, it does the job and can keep things away from you in that sort of way.
Not just
And it
vampires
works.
and werewolves, but bad energies and stuff when you're out on investigations and stuff like that as well, guys. It would be really good for all of that.
And that's what I do. That's part of what I do.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, that's part of what I do.
Well, you do your alchemy, don't you? So that is all that sort of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a lot more to it. And also, if anybody's watching and they want to be protected, also get black salt.
Black salt is a must.
And added onto it Palo Santo wood.
Palo Santo wood over there, but over here in England, it's known as sandalwood.
Yeah, and it works. It does work and everything. And you burn some of it in your place, a lot of things will clear up and everything. But like I said,
heather and lavender is another one that's good to keep energies out as well, putting it at your front and back door.
But like I said, originally with the issue of werewolves, people that have heightened senses, things that have ill intent towards you, you want to be on guard with it. And there are little things you can do here and there that really adds up more than people will ever know. Like I said, if I do it, I'm going to be doing a broadcast at some point next week. I'm going to be doing that, but I'm going to be taking. I'm always bringing a potion with me wherever I go, and with that potion, I want to drive things away that might have something in some kind of ill intent towards me, and also, let me try it this way. Whenever it comes to werewolves, they hate fleasbane. But if you can get your hand on wolfsbane, it's even worse for them. Like Sherry wouldn't even be watching this broadcast, as heightened as her senses are. If I had wolfsbane, she would have turned this off a long time ago. If you think that fleasbane is strong. Fleasbane is nothing compared to wolfsbane.
I wasn't even feeling comfortable around the fleas black bane. It was making my head and stuff hurt, so I wouldn't even want to come into play with wolfbane. Need to go anyway to stock up on my herbs. Running low on some. By the way, I'm in Ontario, Canada. Oh, what? Hello.
Nice. Well, like I said, this is how it goes, and like I said, but like I said, I got a couple. Another thing also I can do.
Is it still there?
What's that?
Is that potion still there?
I took it all. Let me get into the other room. I'm sorry about that.
It's really hurting my head.
Give me a second.
It's strong, guys. It's got this random smell.
Is it
hard to explain what the smell's like? It's potent.
Yeah. Well, I do have my most potent potion if you want to see it. The most potent one.
I think we best not with the way my head's feeling at the moment. Not unless you want me to go backwards on the bed or something. Gone.
It's okay. I definitely get it. But yeah, I do put seals on them like this. It's not open, so keep that in mind. And it's not open, but it takes me like a day and a half to make one of those. And I've given a few away, so now I'm just stuck with 2. But with that, like I said, those are offensive potions. Potions.
You can see why they're offensive, can't you?
And it's closed. Keep that in mind. Imagine it being open.
Well, I'm glad it ain't open.
That's my point. But I will not open it around. I will not open it around you, Sherry.
If I hadn't have had that other stuff on there beforehand, then I'd be all right. But because of that
you never smelled anything like it.
Stuff was strong.
Yeah, that's part of. Like I said, that's part of what I do, and like I said, it's part of what I do. and I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst. But I can protect myself against certain energies and people and this and that. And there's times where I can be damn good at it.
Definitely.
But whenever it comes to making a potion, I put my own energy into it. I put my own energy into it, and it works for me. But if you do alchemy or you try to make a stab at alchemy, you have to find what works for you and make it your way of how you do things. Basically, you get the training, and even if you don't have any training, you rely on your common sense, your gut instincts, and you go from there with it.
Yeah, research, studying, things like that really helps. Like Samuel does his potions and that. It's really not that much different to where I do my bags and I make my stuff up to keep myself protected and other people protected. It's just slightly different. That's all it is. But again, I've got some very powerful herbs here that can do some damage as well, you know, to certain energies and things that are known. So, but
So
yeah,
is there
that flea bane is definitely very powerful. So if you're wanting something that's going to protect you and stuff, guys, then yeah. But I think I'm going to stay away from it.
well, like I said, if anybody has any questions some other time, I'm sure Sherry can get a hold of me, get a hold of Sherry to get a hold of me. And
Yeah, if you've got any
if you're
questions
doing
that you want Samuel to answer to you, or you might need some help on, just message me, and then I can forward your message over
yes,
to Samuel, and maybe you could get yourselves into contact that way on Facebook or something.
yeah, and Sherry is damn good at getting a hold of me. I don't know how she's so good, but she's definitely good. And this is what I put all my stuff in, all my information.
Yeah,
You see how this is
I bet
designed?
there's a lot in that.
Well, like I said, I put stuff on my Instagram account on what I do on that, and that right there, most everything goes through that. I do have other books in the past but I filled them up. That one's about 40% filled up, but I'm still trying to get more into it. But in
That's
regards to
good.
Sherry, she does a damn good job in getting a hold of me. If you ever have any other questions,
Yes, and I do a damn good job at doing a lot of things, guys, including my
obviously.
company. So if any of you guys want to come over and join our company and come part of our Facebook
Mm,
company, which is still Paranormal World Investigators Research Division, then please do, guys, because we do cover all this sort of stuff in there.
mm,
And you could be part of some really cool cases or bring your own work over and have other people to help you do it as well. Like, that's the place to be. But we do
yes,
hope that you've enjoyed the show and you've enjoyed our interesting talks about werewolves and the funny little bit at the end about how we would escape werewolves and Samuel's description of running up the tree and what he would do. Hello, Bold and Bonkers. How are you, Chris?
hello, gentlemen.
Or Dakota? I think it's probably Chris.
But
Does Samuel have a YouTube channel?
not of my own. This is what I do. But like I said, is that Chris who was saying that?
I think it is, yes.
Well, if you want to leave comments on my Instagram account, it's not
No, no, no,
differently.
no. That was Phonics that asked
My
if you've
apo-
got a YouTube channel.
Oh, I'm sorry, Phonics. My apologies. But I do have a Instagram account of differently 9560. I don't know if it means anything, but if you can
Differently, 9650.
9560.
9560.
Yes. And
Different at the beginning.
differently. DIF
Differently. Maybe you
D
should write it in the room, Samuel, so that
Let's
they
do
can
it.
actually
Yeah, of course.
get it. And that is on Instagram, he was saying. That'd be a way to be able to reach out to him if you want to ask him anything. Or, like he said, you could come and talk to me and I could forward the messages on to him because I'm very good at doing that.
Well, night, right below, I'm the last one who just wrote something on that. You can sit there and see,
There
you'll
you
be able
go.
to see. Do you see it now?
He does, yeah. He does have a YouTube channel, as you can see. It's called Sam Helmick. He just doesn't do any streaming or anything on it. He just supports people at the minute. He might in the future, I don't know, but he doesn't do that at the minute.
Well, and on the Instagram account, it's stuff that I've dealt with in the past. Some of it's good old things and this and that, but a lot of it, it's that I've dealt with certain entities of this and that, and you might be able to get an idea of it.
I know how to run away from a wolf. Just outrun your friend.
That was pretty good. I like
That's
that.
from Chris.
That's wrong. It's just over the top wrong, but it's brilliant. Nothing like so. It's wrong. I mean, another thing I'm going to hell for. I mean,
Yeah, I've been trying to sort this out with Samuel. I have spoke to Samuel because you gave me 2 dates, Chris, unless you've changed the dates again. But I have run that past Samuel today because I've been really busy. And I said to him that if he wanted me to join him on the show with you guys, then I'm more than happy to go up there because I know you said to come up with him. But it's if Samuel is free on them days. I know it was in February.
Yeah, I can't promise you anything, but more than likely, yes. But I'm not going to promise anything I can't keep because it's a little bit of a distance. But once February comes up, I should be able to. But like I said, there's no promises on that. But with Bald and Bonkers, those guys sound like geniuses. It just
well, it's an interview, Samuel. So if you wanted to do it, you'd only have to pick one of the dates and just make sure you're not doing anything on that day because it's a really big thing to get on their show because they've got a lot of people.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. It's just something in my past. I'm just not somebody who likes making promises that I can't keep.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Thank you.
We'll let you know nearer to the time, guys. But obviously, it would have to be a couple of days because you can't just drop it on them last minute.
Yeah.
Because they're very busy.
Oh, they are. They're freaking geniuses. It's just like sitting there watching their broadcast. It's like, damn, that's pretty good. And that's all I can think.
They are. They're absolutely amazing. Him and Dakota are. They're really, really good. That's why I'm like part of the network and like I've got my witch show on there and stuff, and I'm going to be starting bringing stuff over onto this channel to carry that on and stuff. But we're doing stuff with like UFOs. We talk a lot about UFOs and stuff on their channel and stuff like that. It's just a really interesting channel to be on because they talk about a lot of things.
Well, in regard to aliens and things like that, well, let's just say my somebody I know that I moved around with, he was stationed in Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. If they know anything about that.
More than likely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'll talk. I mean, like I said, I'll do what I can.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying. If you have this interview, you'll be able to talk to them about all of this. They'll probably ask you, do you know anything about UFOs? Do you know anyone that's had any experiences? Have you had any experiences? Things like that. You know, that'll be just stuff like that, really. Just finding out about you and helping you to get out there.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I just want to sit there and do all that. But yeah, for the most part, that's how it goes. Whenever it comes to because most of that of what I covered just about over an hour ago, that a lot of that is stuff that I had gut instincts of knowing, but did I have any proof of it? No, but I wanted to get documentation, scientific, medical science to some degree, cinema, things like that is what I wanted to go through. My problem is that I stumble over my words whenever I'm reading, and that's on me, nobody else. But for the most part, whenever it comes to metaphysical, am I fully knowledgeable? No. But do I try? Yes. But the more I find out upon the things that are metaphysical, I realize I don't know crap about anything. Every single time I find out something, there's 5 more things I don't know.
You do know stuff, Samuel. You just know it in your own. You know it in your own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like nobody can know everything, and I think it's boring when you can know everything. It's good to always be going across and learning and going with the flow. You know what I mean? Like I don't know everything, but I'm good at what I do, and that's the same as you. You're good at what you do. Oh yeah, we know about that airbase. Yeah, Chris and that know about that airbase.
Did their ears just perk up here on that?
Oh, more than likely, because anything to do with UFOs and stuff like that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they'll. If, like I said, if they know about that, but like I said, I'll give my 2 cents in on everything. I'll talk about the stuff I know. I'll answer the best questions and everything. And
I can be up there with you, so you're not going to be on your own, so you don't have to be nervous.
Mhm. I would love that, definitely. And so that's how it would
Okay, so
go.
nearer the time, Chris, maybe like 2 or 3 days before the show, I'll ask him again.
Yeah, but
Um,
definitely.
uh, and let you know on them dates. Because if he can't do the first date, I'll ask him again 2 or 3 days before the second
Mhm.
date. And if he says yeah, I'll be fine for that one. Then I'll let you know.
Yeah.
It's just Samuel don't like to be put forward. He likes to just go with the flow, sort of thing. It makes it easier for him.
But yes, I will say this much: it's definitely an honor being considered, and you've given me quite a bit of honorship yourself, Sherry. I mean, the thing
Well,
is,
you should know me by now, Samuel. I am somebody that tries to work out to make sure that
of
everybody
course,
gets their opportunities, and that's just what I'm
of
about.
course, yeah, of course. But like I said,
You're
I
welcome,
mean,
Chris.
you are, like I said, I mean, you give little guys a chance to prove themselves, and I think I've done that. But
More
but
than
no
enough,
matter,
yeah.
yeah, but the thing is, I still feel in life that I can push myself to being better. And it's
You
people
don't
like
need to
that.
be better, Samuel. The thing is you're
No,
so used to people expecting so much of you that you expect that everybody else is going to be the same way, and it's not. You do enough work the way that you are, and
yeah,
you're
what I'm
good
saying,
at what you do.
well, what I'm meaning is that I push myself more and I do more because I believe in myself. I believe in
That's
myself
good,
so
and
much.
that's what I want you to
That's
do.
what,
Believe in yourself, but don't
and
overwork
that,
yourself.
yes, ma'am. Well, is there any other questions? Anybody
There
have
was no more
anything?
questions. I was actually going to end the stream because we've been
Of
on for an hour
course.
and 32 minutes. But I do want to thank all of you for coming on and supporting our show tonight and supporting Samuel as we spoke about werewolves. We hope that you did enjoy the show. I will be posting the information of what Samuel spoke about today in the company Facebook. So where the company is, it will all be on there for
Mm,
you guys to be able to follow, and on Twitter and other places as well. But you will see Samuel again in a fortnight again, where he will be bringing his next topic. Do you have your next topic, Samuel? What are you thinking
God,
of your
no,
next
I
topic
don't.
being?
I
No,
don't know. I'm
I
going to
know
be.
that I threw quite a few ideas over to Samuel, and I'm hoping he
Yes.
might start working on one of the things I said about. So, like finding that maybe and just coming out with one of them. So, there will be
Yes,
some
ma'am.
really interesting shows to come. But a big thank you to all of you guys. Lots of love, light, and blessings. Be safe and be real. And remember to stay spooky. And Samuel, do you want to say anything quickly? Oh, he's gone. Okay, he's left. So what I'm going to do is just play out the universal video. Play the universal video, guys, and the 30-second countdown, then it is over. So thank you very much, my angels, for coming in. Lots of love, light, and blessings, guys. I am going to be back on just before 3 o'clock, so in about an hour, because I'm going to be doing a premiere where I'm just showing the video from the first show that we had on Bold and Bonkers to do with the Lost Magics. Then that will be going over to the following week when I have got the second show. I'm going to be showing the second show that me and Sister Drew done, and also the video that I wasn't able to show on that show on the second one. So that's going to be coming up. And I am going to be doing some UFO and paranormal investigation stuff in the week. And we have got another show coming up for the company on the 30th. So anybody that is involved in the company or anybody that wants to be involved in that show, please let me know. I think it's talking about different spiritual realms and stuff like that. But I'm going to be going over to Tim and Tommy's on UFO Man as well, because they are live tonight as well, guys. So please make sure you keep an eye out for UFO Man, which is Tim and Tommy. They're going to be going live. I know that brother ODSD said that he was going to be doing something, can upload or a live or something at some point as well. So keep an eye out for him. So there are lots of stuff happening and lots of things going on. But please now go and check over on UFO Man. Keep an eye out for my premiere that's going to be on in about an hour or so. And I will see you all very soon. Love you all. Love, light, and blessings. And thank you for coming in. And a merry parting. Love you guys. Blessed be, and see you very soon.